Brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute. Now, here's your host of the Curtis Riggs Show, the voice of the Sioux Falls Storm, Rich Rosty.
And good afternoon and hi, everybody. I'm Rich Rosty, and welcome to the Curtis Riggs Show. And then coming up in the show, we'll be talking to the head coach of the Storm, Curtis Riggs, about the final weekend of the IFL season and playoffs starting this coming Saturday and Friday night. But during our second segment with Coach Riggs, we'll be talking about the Storm's triple overtime win over the Green Bay Blizzard, 69-61. Then also on the show, we'll be talking to Storm wide receiver and kick returner Damon Powell and linebacker Desmond Reed. All of that coming up on the Curtis Riggs Show this afternoon. Now, this Saturday, the Storm will be in Phoenix, Arizona to play the Arizona Rattlers in the first round of the IFL playoff. The game is at 8:05 Central Time, and you can hear that game on our sister station, Killa News Talk AM 1320 and FM 107.9. Now, the Curtis Riggs Show is proudly presented each week by the official Storm sports medicine providers, Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital, the Storm official healthcare team, and the only 5-star rated hospital in Sioux Falls, and also by Orthopedic Institute, the one to trust. Coming up next, he is the head coach of the Storm, Curtis Riggs, and you're listening to the Curtis Riggs Show right here on FM 98.1 AM 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN.
I'm Bill Ladwick.
The biggest difference in Boyer and other truck dealerships is the fact that we're an employee-owned company. From the front of the building with the sales to the back of the building with service and parts, you're dealing with the owner of the company. We have the smallest vehicles all the way up to the biggest vehicles. We're a truck dealer by heart, and by design, we deal in the whole gamut of the vehicles. There's not a lot of dealers that do that. This is a relationship business, and I enjoy the relationships a lot.
You're listening to the Curtis Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosty.
And each week, our opening interview with the Storm head coach, Curtis Riggs, is brought to you by the great folks over at Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Storm sponsors since day one, Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Come see what fresh really is. They deliver anywhere in Sioux Falls, and their subs are just breader. He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs. Coach, I tell you what, we've had a couple of heart-stopping games the last couple weeks. Is that easy on your heart? It's not been too easy on mine.
It's been pretty exciting. I can't remember, never having a triple overtime game or, having a game where we come back from behind and block a field goal to win the game, like the last two games. It's been pretty crazy and pretty exciting.
Oh, it's been exciting. I told our neighbor next door, he's a retired physician, I said, I'm going to start bringing you along to the game just to be able to monitor my vitals and to be able to charge the defibrillator, and knowing the last rites is a plus also for him.
Well, that's not really a very pleasant thought, but, I'm sure a lot of people shared your feelings. Yeah, it's, and the people that stayed again, it was exciting. It was crazy. I described on an interview earlier that it's one of those things where you're just so disappointed, but yet so proud and so excited. And, the rush of after the game, then it kind of hits you that, boy, we did not play well, but, man, can you believe that comeback and fight through all that? It's just such an up and down game, but that's what's great about football.
I had this question all lined up for the very end of the broadcast, and I was really debating how am I going to ask this question, and because you've played the number one team and you took them down to the very last second, you played the team that had the least amount of wins in the entire league and went to triple overtime with them, and I'm thinking about this and how to ask the question. You're the same ball club. You're playing two very different teams as far as their records are concerned. But I figured out to ask it this way. Has your team learned how to win late in games, regardless of what happens when how the game starts?
Well, I don't know if we've learned how to win late. I think we've learned that it's never over.
Okay.
That part I think we've got, because, I think winning is much more than just the fourth quarter. But I know you're trying to say the game's close and you find a way to win. I think we're more comfortable than, game one of the season. We lost the game when it was close, and we definitely didn't win it. I think, though, that we've got to find a way to put ourselves in position to maybe control rather than try to have to fight so hard. Because eventually when you have to fight so hard all the time, eventually you get that punch in the gut. You're out of breath. And that's what we have not had that happen, not yet, and we don't want to be in that position. We would much rather be in the lead, controlling the game, and be the ones that make the other team have to really fight.
And the thing about it is, it doesn't matter who you play, because every team can play to a high level on any given night. Green Bay showed that immensely in that contest last week. They didn't play like a team that only won 2 ball games in the course of the season.
No, yeah. And we knew if we let them hang around, this was their playoff game. And, the coach is fighting for a job, and the players love him. And we had a chance. I felt like if the defense gets us the turnovers in the first quarter, I think it was, if we just capitalize on those, I felt like the game would have been over. But it wasn't. And, honestly, Rich, we didn't play hard. We didn't play hard until the very end when, hey, we got a shot again here. Somehow, some way, we got a shot. And let's go out and take this opportunity. And so you do that with any team. I mean, Arizona did it with Cedar Rapids. Took Arizona, it took 11 touchdowns by Monroe to beat Cedar Rapids.
Right, 84-83.
Yeah, I think that's what one of the exciting parts this year was, with only 6 teams. You would have thought, though, especially the top 3 teams being us, Iowa, and Arizona, none of us lost to the non-playoff teams. And only Iowa lost to Nebraska, which I think says a lot. That shows that we are, the cream of the crop, because the bottom teams had chances. They did. Green Bay had a chance here. Cedar Rapids had that chance in Arizona. And the good teams just find a way to still win those games.
And Arizona did it. They beat Green Bay 37-31. Cedar Rapids 84-83, and Nebraska 45-40. So they too have had close games, but they found ways to win. So it's going to, we'll be talking about this in the last segment of the show, Coach. But we've got Arizona coming up on the this first game of the playoffs, and it's going to be a game that you cannot predict because so many different things have happened through the course of the season. We don't know which team of either team is going to show up because both have had hot games, both have had cold games.
Yeah, and I think one thing you've seen this year is you've seen more chaotic type plays that really can just break the momentum in a game. The turnovers, the missed field goals returned for touchdowns, the blocks. A lot of those types of plays that are very impactful and end up changing the dynamics of the game quickly.
Kind of like in what happened last Saturday. Storm has a kickoff return. The ball is stolen right out of the hands of the kick returner. Or you have the kickoff and it bounces off one of the Storm players and recovered by Arizona. Weird plays that you don't see. And also in the last 2 games, we've had 2 rulings at the end of games that I didn't even know existed.
Yeah, this last one was really crazy. I felt like I knew the rule. I was just hoping the officials did, because one of the hard parts for our officials in our game is we fluctuate between college and some pro rules. And, majority college rules, but there's some where it's not college. And, with the college overtime, I knew we had won even with Trey's mistake, but as the officials are huddling, you're like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen here? And the crew was right on it. They knew there was no question or anyone that was saying anything different than the right response.
Well, we're going to play the highlight of that when we come back after we pause for a timeout. We'll be talking about the other games that went on. They were very mundane compared to the last couple of Storm have had. But we'll talk about those also. But you're listening to the Curtis Riggs Show, and this segment brought to you by Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Come see what fresh really is, and they deliver anywhere in town. Their subs are just breader. We'll be back right after this.
Let's all take a moment and get the blood.
If you like to bowl, roll on into Eastway Bowl. Hey, wait a minute. Eastway Bowl is more than just bowling. It's a full of fun entertainment center. There's many things to do. Games, and more games, plus food. Great food. Come into our full-service sports bar and grill where you'll find terrific drinks with our popular late-night specials. Watch all your favorite sporting events at Eastway. Visit our website to make your bowling reservations and find out more about the full fun experience. Eastway Bowl and Entertainment Center, where there's something for everyone.
You're listening to the Curtis Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosti.
And the Storm Weekly Game Recap is brought to you by Eastway Bowl, the perfect spot for family fun. Eastway Sports Lounge, the official Storm road game viewing party host for all Storm fans. And the next viewing party is this Saturday. 8:05 is the kickoff as the Storm are going to be down in Arizona to face the Rattlers in the first round of the IFL playoffs. He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs. Getting back to the games around the IFL, there were two other games last Saturday, and it was the Iowa Barnstormers defeated the Cedar Rapids Titans by a score of 54-21. The one thing that was surprising me about that ballgame, looking at the stats, is that Iowa divided their time between two quarterbacks, Drew Powell and also Grant Rohach, and they didn't throw the ball that much. They ran it quite a bit. What did you see or you find out about that ball game?
I really haven't watched the game at all. I mean, it really serves no purpose for me. And during the season, I'll go through a lot of the other games, but this one now, we've fully committed to Arizona and our previous game. The one thing I did see, though, is the Cedar Rapids quarterback still threw for a lot of yards. And, I'm sure Iowa was trying to get through the game without any chance of Drew getting hurt and just try to play decent, solid football. But, the Cedar Rapids quarterback, for what he's had to work with throughout the season, he's really had a great season.
Drew Powell did run the ball 8 times, 69 yards, had 3 rushing touchdowns. And Rohach had a rushing touchdown. He also had some passing. Drew Powell threw for 71 yards. He had 2 passing touchdowns. Again, Iowa Barnstormers defeated Cedar Rapids 54-21. Iowa will host throughout the playoffs. If they win in the first round of the playoffs, that would be against Nebraska. Then Arizona was at Nebraska. Arizona won with a win 59-23. They also, I thought, did things somewhat differently. They only had 8 passes in that contest, and they had 29 yards of passing. They had 6 different ball carriers, 196 yards of rushing, and Monroe carried 17 times 88 yards and 3 touchdowns. No surprise there. But Verlin Reed, a quarterback that was hurt earlier this year, he had 10 carries, 74 yards, and 4 rushing scores.
He can run. Yeah, Reed is a very gifted athlete. He was at Ohio State for a reason. And when you watch this game, Rich, it's like Monroe is over at Discovery Elementary playing football with the elementary kids.
Oh my.
I mean, he gets the ball. Now, the one thing he did a lot was fumble. But gosh, when he gets that ball, and their O-line is so good, so athletic, by the time people are getting to him, he's getting ahead of steam. And, he's making people pay. But, I mean, they're playing very good. I was surprised Nebraska sat some guys. I thought they would go in playing, thinking, you know what, we need to start winning and or at least start playing well. But they opted to sit guys and go in to the Iowa game with everyone healthy that they needed healthy.
Well, we'll see what happens as far as that philosophy is concerned. But in the end, Arizona wins 59-23. That's going to be the Storm's next opponent this Saturday down in Phoenix, and we're going to be talking about that with Coach Riggs in the final segment. But But I wanted to play this highlight of the end of the game this last Saturday because it had different things in it. It was a wild finish, and the rule is the part that I wanted to get to, and here's the highlight. He's back to pass. Looked like it was kind of a busted play. He's under pressure, rolling right. Hit, throws the ball upfield. It's going to be picked off! Picked off by Wofford. The ball game is over. Oh, no. He tried to lateral it, and the Green Bay Blizzard are chasing the ball. It's against the boards, and if they've recovered that, they will have the ball again at the 3-yard line. Oh, my. If that is an interception and then a fumble, and the Blizzard have it, we could have the Blizzard at the 2.
Exception, fumbled, recovered by the original offense. In overtime, by rule, the original offense cannot retain a fumble and continue the game. Game is over.
Oh, my. And that was the play, and I had never seen that rule enforced. But you said, Coach, you already had it covered. That's why you were so calm on the sidelines.
I was walking on the field, saying it's over. And then I grabbed Trey Wofford about, what are you doing? Just go down and make snow angels if you want. But just, don't even put yourself in that position. And then, he even now says, I had no idea, He picked it off, and then instantly it was like he was celebrating, and then should I pitch it? And, you can't change possession. It's the college rules. It's just like if we intercept a pass, we're not going to run it back for a touchdown. It's kind of one of those crazy things that it's football, but not quite football. I think you've heard the argument with college football's overtime is you're not letting them play real football to finish the game that you've played football for.
Yeah.
But it's also trying to control and say, hey, we need a winner. Let's force the issue here, and that's one of the rules that helps force that.
Trey Wofford, interceptions. He had a great night. Sioux Falls Storm had highs and lows as far as output of offense and defense. Points allowed, points stopped. The game had everything, Coach. I couldn't imagine anything else. You tried to cram into that, but the bottom line was the Storm finished off. They got the win. The season's over. You can forget about it, and we're going to be talking about Arizona a little bit later on the broadcast, and that's the game that's so mostly important right now, is traveling down to balmy Phoenix, Arizona, 109 degrees down there, I believe, today.
Well, thankfully, the only time we'll be outside is when we get off that plane to the bus to the hotel when we walk over to the facility to play. And it's going to be hot, but you know what? There's going to be a lot of people at the game inside because that's one of the things down there. Having games late in the season for them is great. For us, it's tough when we have games late in the season. For them, it's perfect because no one wants to be outside in that heat.
That's exactly right. So we got stuff to talk about. It's going to be a great trip down there, great game. And like I had said earlier this season, we've had some exciting games. We've had some amazing things happen. I truly believe the most exciting things are yet to come this year, Coach, and it's going to start on Saturday.
Well, I hope so. Hopefully, we're not quite to the how we come down to the last seconds like this, but hopefully a lot of exciting plays, and hopefully we can go out there and play 4 quarters of really good football.
Coach, we'll talk about it in the next segment with you a little bit later in the broadcast.
All right, thanks, Rich.
He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs, and the Storm Weekly Game Recap is brought to you by Eastway Bowl, the perfect spot for family fun. Eastway Sports Lounge, the official road game viewing party host, and there's going to be another one this Saturday, 8:05. Storm are going to be in Arizona to face the Rattlers in the first round of the IFL playoffs. Coming up next, Damon Powell with the Sioux Falls Storm, and you're listening to the Curtis Riggs Show right here on FM 98.1, AM 1230, Sports Radio, KWSN.
The Rosties wanted their new house to be unique, so they went back to Fireplace Pros. The upstairs is traditional, but the downstairs is very modern. They are delighted.
We wanted a different look and feel within our house, and Fireplace Pros, as always, helped us make it happen. They're the best.
Visit us on the web or stop by your nearest Heat & Glow or Heatilator dealer. Fireplace Pros Heat and Glow and Heatilator. You're going to love the way your home feels.
You're listening to the Curtis Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosty.
And this segment of the Curtis Riggs Show brought to you by Lewis Pharmacies. Get in, get out, feel better. And joining us via the fan line, wide receiver, kick returner with the Sioux Falls Storm, Damon Powell. Damon, thanks for being on the Curtis Riggs Show.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me.
I tell you what, I want to find out a little bit about your past and your history, but folks from this part of the world would know about where you played college. Tell us about your time at the University of Iowa.
Oh, it was a fun time there. I transferred in pretty late. I came in the Sioux camp started in I want to say in August. So it was kind of like I got thrown in the fire early, I should say. And at first, my first year was a big adjustment as far as with the playbook and stuff, and everything was just going so fast from junior college to Division I. But you know, it was great coaching, and I had great teammates that got me through everything. And it was a great year actually. And then next thing you know, I started getting more and more comfortable how everything was around there, and my role started expanding. And my senior year was great. We actually, I want to say we finished 8-4 that year. No, 8-5. We went to bowl games both years, so I was blessed to be able to play in 2 bowl games and stuff. And I was blessed to play in front of 75,000 fans. They were great on and off the field to all of us, you know, not just, you know, the guys that were starters and everything. If you played and everything, they loved you. So it was just a great time at Iowa.
Well, I tell you what, when you play at Kinnick Stadium and you wear that Hawkeye uniform, you are loved. There's no doubt about that. That's exactly right. I have to take a little bit of an exception there because I was a Gopher. So, you know, it doesn't cut much weight in Iowa, I can tell you that.
Okay. All righty, yeah. Okay, Minnesota.
Yeah, that's about all I ever get from that. I tell you what, but Damon, you had quite a career at Iowa. Then you had an opportunity. You were signed as a rookie by the Arizona Cardinals, but your life took a dramatic change shortly thereafter. Tell us a little bit about that.
Just in the off season, we're getting done with mini camp. Came home for about 2 weeks. About to head back, and I ended up getting shot in my face and everything. It was drive-by shooting. It was pretty random because I didn't see the car ride past or anything. I was just outside with friends and a couple of relatives, and next thing you know, I heard the shots, and I'm just basically sitting on the back of the car, and I was just like, who's shooting fireworks, because it was in July and stuff, so. That's how I felt. I'm like, who's still shooting fireworks? And next thing you know, I seen blood on my shirt. I looked down on my shirt, I flipped over the car and everything. I remember everything that was going on. I didn't black out or anything. Everybody started taking off and stuff. I'm hearing everybody screaming. My mom and stuff, she come around, asked me if I'm all right, and I'm telling her I'm okay. I'm just like, got up. They put me in my cousin's car at the time that I was sitting on. They rushed me to the hospital and stuff, and it was just, it was pretty serious. I was just at that time just trying to, get right, to see where I was shot at and stuff, and they were just like, hey man, just calm down, don't worry about it. Just be quiet, just calm down, breathe, and everything, because my face was hot and everything, but I didn't know exactly where I was shot at. And it was just a weird experience. I'm glad I'm over it. I'm glad I'm still here to be, playing a game that I love to play and be around my family and friends.
And as I understand it, the bullet lodged between 2 vertebrae, and you had surgery, and it took a year of recovery for you to get back to the point of playing football.
So the bullet lodged in. It broke my cheekbone. It went into 2 fragments. One in the C1 area, the back of my neck, and one under my chin. And the scar tissue has grown over it. So they're fragments and everything, and they didn't take nothing out. I can still, walk around, live, play football with it, anything. So the recovery, I was in the hospital for about 3 weeks. Then they moved me next to the hotel, next to the hospital, so I can get my checkups and my surgeries. I probably want to say recovery, about a month and a half. And after that, I was able to go home, and I was still recovering. I was in neck brace. I got back with a trainer that I was familiar with, that I always trained with back in high school. We were doing little things, while I was down. And, I was just basically trying to just get my mind right and everything before I get back out there. And my family was behind me, and everybody was great. So that's what really got me over the hump.
Talking with Damon Powell, wide receiver, kick returner for the Sioux Falls Storm on the Curtis Riggs Show. And, you had a contract with the Arizona Cardinals, but evidently that went away after you were shot. And you've been working now to try to get film for your agent to maybe get back another opportunity to try to get to the NFL or Canadian Football League. Is that true?
Yeah, that's definitely true. And right now, my thing is just taking care of what's in front of me. With the Storm, and I feel like if I take care of what's in front of me right now, everything else will work itself out. But that's definitely the goal, is to move forward and still be able to play at a higher level.
The thing about it is, the first time I met you, Damon, on the bus, when we were getting ready to go on the road trip up to Green Bay, was your attitude. The thing is, a lot of people could be very bitter about the way things went down. You were right there on the front step of the NFL, and now that was taken away from you, and you had to work your way back. But you have a positive attitude about where you are right now with the Sioux Falls Storm, and also I think a part of that is that you understand life much more now than you did even before the shooting.
Yeah, it's just, you just got to appreciate everything, Like I said, I'm blessed to be out here. I appreciate what's in front of me right now, and I'm just, that's how you got to look at it, because you never know what can happen, on and off the field. You see, it's funny that I'm saying this. I'm getting older playing this game, and now with kids coming fresh in, it's from college and stuff, and they just, you could tell the stuff that they value and that they care about. You'd be like, wow, versus to when you get older and you'd be like, wow, it's a total different perspective of the game, or how you look at it. Like, you take pride in different things. And, it's just, after everything happened to me, I had to get mentally prepared to get back to the football game. Like, that was one of my biggest things. And just accepting everything that happened and being able to go out there and be focused on just playing the game and not worried about anything else. Because when you're out there, you can't be worried about nothing else. You got to be focused on what your job is and execution. I feel like that played a big part, though, what happened to me, because I was one of those kids that was just, everything was funny. I knew I was talented. I loved playing the game, but it was just like, hey, that's how it's supposed to be, right? It's supposed to just be like that. Everybody's good. Everybody's supposed to have fun. I didn't get injured or anything. I never had an injury. I had one injury. I take that back in college. I had sports hernia, but I came back like 3 weeks later. It's just nothing really never happened, but that was just something that I couldn't control, and it was just like, hey, this is life. This is reality. So start, appreciating what's around you and taking care of yourself and having more fun. I don't mean, what happened to me, I didn't want to be bitter. Just start having more fun and appreciating your people and the time that you spend with people. That's how I look at it. And that's what's going on right now with myself. I'm playing a game I love no matter what level I'm on. I'm in the IFL, CFL, NFL. I'm playing football. It's a crowd out there. We have amazing fans. We're winning. You can't, you don't get that better. It don't get no better than that. It's fun. I'm having fun right now.
Well, I tell you what, Damon, I appreciate your attitude. I appreciate your outlook, and I appreciate your candor to be able to talk about what had happened. But I think the biggest thing that you said was the fact that you have an understanding of what really is important in your life right now, and you're taking care of things, but you also have the perspective, and you have that right, and I congratulate you, and I applaud you for sharing that with the audience today.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Very good. Thank you very much. Damon Powell, wide receiver, kick returner for the Sioux Falls Storm. Coming up next, we'll be visiting with Desmond Reed, a linebacker with the Sioux Falls Storm. And you're listening to this segment brought to you by Lewis Pharmacies. Get in, get out, feel better. We'll be back right after this.
Hey, you there, in your car. Your body is a complex arrangement of bone and tissue that requires only the best to maintain it. At Orthopedic Institute, that's our specialty. Our services have been specifically tailored to provide the best orthopedic care in the region. Orthopedics is what we do. That's why Orthopedic Institute is the one to trust to keep your body in motion.
You're listening to the Curtis Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosty.
And welcome back to the Curtis Riggs Show. This segment brought to you by Lewis Pharmacies. Get in, get out, feel better. And joining us via the fan line, linebacker with the Sioux Falls Storm, Desmond Reed. Desmond, thanks for being on the Curtis Riggs Show.
Thanks for having me.
You know what? You have made an impact with the Sioux Falls Storm in a very short amount of time that you've been here. In 8 games, you have 42.5 tackles, and you have 5 tackle average per game, and you've had 4.5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 2 broken passes, 2 fumble recoveries, a forced fumble, and we're going to talk about a little block kick that you had against Iowa.
Yes, sir. The time being here has been phenomenal. Coaching staff really made me feel home. Coach Riggs, and he done a great job. Him and his staff, Coach Herman, did a great job with, making the playbook very simple for me, and getting me really comfortable, for my first pro game, and just keeping the ball rolling there, especially with this playoff run.
The thing about it is what a lot of people don't realize is just how sophisticated the Sioux Falls Storm defense is, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's definitely pretty sophisticated. You have to know your reads, know your holes that you have to shoot through, and a lot of times if you see a big play busted, it's because one of us didn't do our job by fitting our gaps or whatnot. So it plays a significant role in knowing what you have to do and doing your job every play.
Talking with Storm linebacker Desmond Reed on the Curtis Riggs Show. And that's one of the things that has taken a lot of players over the course of years, that they come in to play defense for the Sioux Falls Storm, that they don't realize that how important it is to do their job, even though their job does not put them in a position to make a play. But being that they did their job, somebody else is going to be in a better position to make their play. And that's the whole key with the Storm defense, is doing the job that you're supposed to be doing, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we kind of overemphasize that, every week. So, just do your job and everything else will handle itself. And I feel like for a pretty good start, coming in, late, I feel like us as a defense, we have done that.
Well, I tell you what, Desmond, like I said, you've made a tremendous impact. And I did not realize that this is who made the block, but it is Desmond Reed. But here is the way that Iowa game ended, and hopefully you enjoy the call, even though I didn't get your name in the call.
The ball game is over! The ball game is over! The Storm win by a block kick and a safety. Oh my! I have never, in my 20 years of indoor football, seen an ending like this ball game tonight.
And that's the way it wound up being called. But Desmond Reed, you were the one that got that block. Tell us about getting in there and making that crucial block against the Iowa Barnstormers.
You know what? I guess I think it's coming from being at Appalachian State, but But actually, our D-line coach, Corey, he actually played, for you guys for the Sioux Falls Storm a couple years back.
Corey Johnson.
Corey Johnson. He just, installed it into me that hey, we have a few guys who played who made a living off of field goal blocks, and just he showed me a couple ways that I could set my opponent up, and I just trusted pretty much my coaching and my athletic ability, and I got through easily. So I was really kind of when I came through, I just reached my hand up. I felt like this was the ball just hitting my arm, and I just knew it went somewhere. I didn't know where, but good thing went in the end zone.
Well, it was quite a play, and the crowd went nuts, and it was that particular play, I think, really started the Sioux Falls Storm on the end of the season push as far as developing the team chemistry, because that was a unification of this entire ball club, wasn't it?
Oh, yes, sir. I feel like that game alone had, defined our, this pretty much this whole season, at least since I've been here. I heard plenty of stories over, since I've been here, how the season had been going, being on, the Arizona game, and just, how adversity had hit them, and coming in five games in, and stepping up and doing what everybody asked me to do, coaches, teammates, and just being that helping hand. So I really feel like this is the start of the push of getting to the ship and winning it all.
Well, I tell you what, Desmond, thank you so much for being on the Curtis Riggs Show. Great stuff that you brought to the broadcast. Also, things that you do on the field. Thank you so very much for being a part of the Sioux Falls Storm.
Thank you for having me.
Desmond Reed, linebacker with the Sioux Falls Storm, wears number 44. And when we come back, we'll be talking to the Storm head coach, Curtis Riggs. But this segment brought to you by Lewis Pharmacies. Get in, get out, feel better. And when we come back, we'll be talking about the Arizona Rattlers. You're listening to the Curtis Riggs Show right here on FM 98.1 AM 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN.
If you haven't been to Eastway Sports Lounge and Grill lately,
waiting to see a doctor?
What's taking so long?
It can take a while.
I don't have time for this.
Or longer than a while.
We've been here 2 hours.
Forever.
Hello?
What would you say if there was another option?
Finally.
Yes.
It's about time.
We're inclined to agree. It's about time for the best patient care. Sioux Falls Urgent Care.
You're listening to the Curtis Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230 Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosty.
And each week, our game preview interview with the Storm head coach, Curtis Riggs, is brought to you by our great friends over at Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs, 917 South Cliff Avenue. Sliced fresh, baked fresh, made fresh. Come see what fresh really is at Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. And he is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs. Playoff time is going to be heading down to Arizona to take on the Arizona Rattlers. They're on a 3-game winning streak against the Sioux Falls Storm. How can you change that this Saturday?
Wow. Well, I mean, the simple thing is find a way to score more than they do. I think, whatever it takes, Rich. I think that's how this team works. I think if it's a shootout or if it's, a defensive battle or whatever it takes. I mean, that's got to be the mindset. It's not just one particular thing. I think they're too good of a team to go in and think we got to be able to just do this against them. We have to go in and just play solid football. I mean, we're definitely not going to be able to. The nemesis for us against them in the previous games is it came down to turnovers. When we played them at home in the championship game, we had some very critical turnovers. When we lost them at home this season, we had some big turnovers. And then when we played them down there, we had the big interception or the big fumble. I mean, at the end when we had the ball and we're in line to kick a field goal or score, and Zoe got hit from behind, fumbled, and Shirks and his big biceps, crushed the ball as he was going into the end zone. And it was the difference in the game. I mean, we felt like we really controlled that game up to that point. And so we've got to find a way to take care of the ball, but we've got to play just good football. That's the key.
Shirks is not going to be in this game. He has been injured. There's other Chapman also not into this ball game. He is injured. Monroe had been injured. He's back on the field as that running back, and he has been a nemesis. He scored 68 points in a game. He had 11 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion for 68 points, set a record. You know, he's big, he's strong, he's crafty. How can you stop him?
Well, I mean, we got to try to shut down running lanes. We've got to try to rally to the ball. I mean, we've got to get everyone there to tackle him and really try to prevent him from getting a big head of steam. You know, they do a very good job of creating lanes that allow him to be able to get 3-4 yards, and then by that point, it's self-inflicted. I mean, meaning he really imposes his will on the linebacker, the DBs. You want to try to eliminate those lanes. And, you know, I think their quarterback has really done a nice job this year and has a really good feel for the indoor game now. And then they do a good job mixing their screen game in there also.
That's one of the things that I wanted to bring up, because when you concentrate on one area of a team that is successful, you open yourself up for some liability on the other side of it. You know, if Monroe is what you're keen on, they have many other weapons that they can kind of basically throw through the back door and be successful, can't they?
They do. Yeah, they've got, I mean, 3 very good receivers. I think their quarterback is very solid, a very good offensive line, and then defensively. The linebacker now, I think, is maybe a better linebacker. Shirks, he's very good at just blitzing the entire game. Just keep coming, keep coming, keep coming. But this kid is probably a better linebacker than Shirks. I mean, just his all-around game. And then, you know, I think their D-line is still very good. McAllister, I think, is one of the best in the league. You know, between Lindsey or Keith Brown and, you know, the number 15 and Merriweather, the strong safety, I mean, they're playing very good. They're very aggressive, and they do a nice job of forcing you into mistakes.
Boy, the way you paint the picture is, how can you beat them? I mean, how could anybody beat them?
Well, Iowa's found a way 3 times, you know, and I think, you know, they're beatable. I'm not saying they're not, but I think, you know, they're well coached, and we've got to be the ones that dictate the pace and force them into mistakes rather than us trying to fall behind in the chains and in the game and trying to play catch up, because that's where they're really the most comfortable.
Coach, you've got a ball club of your own that's been playing some exceptional football as far as being scrappy, never say quit, come from behind, and doing what it takes to win. And I think all of those factors are going to become a part of this game coming up on Saturday. But also, I think that your ball club is also poised to start really putting things together as far as a momentum and a smoothness, because I believe that, you know, what I've seen the last few weeks, that there have been shades of that. And when your team is operating smoothly, it is a very good football team.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you know, even in the Iowa game, Rich, that first half, you know, I felt like we really controlled that game, and then we had that safety we gave up. We looked very good. You know, we're playing very good football. Defense, you know, got the stops to allow us to flip the game to where we were in the driver's seat, and then we made the critical mistake, and that's kind of been our MO this year, is making those mistakes and then finding ways to overcome them. And some of the games we have not, but most we have. And, you know, if we could eliminate those, we're a force to be reckoned with then.
Well, Coach, it's going to be a great time. We're going to be heading down, I would assume, on Friday sometime. We'll be heading down to Arizona to take on the Rattlers on Saturday. And we'll have the game for you on our sister station at Keller News Talk, AM 1320 and FM 107.9. Kickoff is at 8:05 Central. We'll have the pregame starting at 7:45. Any other final words about the game before we go off the air for today?
Nope, none. Let's just hopefully have a good trip traveling down there, and then a great football game.
Well, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Coach, best to you. We'll talk to you in Arizona.
Thank you, Rich. Yep.
He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs. And When we come back, we'll wrap things up for this Curtis Riggs Show. But this segment's been brought to you by Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. Come see what fresh really is. 917 South Cliff Avenue. Made fresh, baked fresh, made fresh. It's fresh. So come see what fresh really is. Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs. We'll be back and wrap up the Curtis Riggs Show right here on FM 98.1, AM 1230, Sports Radio, KWSN.
Breathe easier when you have your ducts cleaned by Waterbury. Call us today.
You're listening to the Curtis Riggs Show, brought to you by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and by Orthopedic Institute on 98.1, 1230, Sports Radio, KWSN. Back to the show. Here's Rich Rosty.
And welcome back to the Curtis Riggs Show. And I always appreciate all the fans listening to the broadcast wherever you are. And if there's any of the fans still listening down in Arizona, I appreciate that you tuned in, and also hopefully to see you down there this coming Saturday. I want to thank you to our friends over at Boyer Ford Trucks, the official sponsor of our weekly podcast of the Curtis Riggs Show. That's Boyer Ford Trucks, celebrating 30 years of being employee-owned sales parts service. We keep you moving. That's Boyer Ford Trucks. And they sponsor the podcast. So if you go to the Storm website, click on media, social media, go to podcast or Stormcast. And all of the Curtis Riggs shows are archived from all season long. You can go back and listen and watch them. We take a video in studio of the Curtis Riggs Show. I want to thank you to our head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs, along with our guests, Damon Powell and Desmond Reed. And this Saturday, the Storm will be in Phoenix, Arizona to play the Arizona Rattlers in the first round of the IFL playoffs. Game time is at 8:05 Central, and you can hear the game on our sister station, Kella News Talk, AM 1320 and FM 107.9. The Curtis Riggs Show is proudly presented each week by the official Storm sports medicine providers, Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital, the Storm official healthcare team, and the only 5-star rated hospital in Sioux Falls, and by Orthopedic Institute, the one to trust. Thank you to John Michaels, our KWSN studio and producer and engineer, and also along with all of you, our listening audience, for making us a part of your day. And you've been listening to the Curtis Riggs Show right here on FM 98.1, AM 1230, Sports Radio, KWSN. Good night, everybody.
Sioux Falls